Dr. Hamilton Pharoah, it's a pleasure to have you on the My Mentality Matters podcast.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a privilege to sit with you again and just talk through your personal journey. I want to find out a little bit of your personal background. If you can tell us about your family, your young years, where you're from, where you grew up.
It's quite easy because I'm born and bred in Paarl, and I've said to someone yesterday actually that
Mm.
I can't be more part of Paarl as being born in Paarl Hospital. So I'm a real person from Paarl. Grew up in New Orleans. Went to school. Actually, started my primary school at a school called Emmanuel Primary School, and that
Yeah.
was in Main Road. Now, Emmanuel Primary School and St. Stephen's Primary School are now Nieuwedrif Primary
Really?
School.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
So my father was the principal there. So I
Okay.
went till standard one. What is that now? Grade three.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So in those days, standard two at that school would be
Grade four.
afternoon school.
Really?
So yeah, so my
Wow.
father said, okay, no, that's not going to work. So I then went in standard two, which is grade four.
Mm,
I went to New Orleans Primary School,
mm.
and from there, high school, I was at Klein-Nederburg.
That's right. Yeah.
We saw each other there as well.
That's
And
right.
so from there, I went obviously to the University of the Western Cape.
What did you end up studying?
And yeah, I was fortunate enough that I wanted to do physiotherapy,
Mm,
and I was able to get in.
mm,
In fact, in those days, it's number one, UWC accepted me.
yeah.
I'm so grateful
Mm,
to have been able to go to UWC, and I think my journey would have been so much different if it wasn't for that.
exactly.
It's now 30 years later,
Great.
and I have 3 degrees, of which obviously the PhD is there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have the opportunity at UWC.
Absolutely.
And also if they didn't actually get me to come back to the university and say, well, come and work at the university.
Mm,
So I am now at Cape Peninsula University
right.
of Technology.
Yeah.
So I've also been fortunate in the sense that the experience that I have is more than 15 years at UWC.
Mm,
I spent 3 years at Stellenbosch University working there. I've spent almost 6 years at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
mm,
So I've got
okay.
a broad spectrum of
Academic to the core.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was never meant to be that.
Wow.
And I fought, I think I fought for about almost 20 years not to be an academic.
Really?
Um, yeah, because when I went to UWC, I was only going to manage the sports clinic.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
then came this
Academia called you.
lecturer. Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah.
So did you actually practice physiotherapy?
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
worked at Paarl Hospital and T.C. Newman Hospital for 2.5 years.
Oh.
It was during that time that the HOD of physiotherapy, UWC,
Mm,
contacted me. Why don't you come, leave your
mhm.
permanent job, and start off with a year contract at the clinic?
Wow.
But I've always practiced. So during let's say the first 20 years or so,
Mm,
till about 2016, I was practicing seeing people privately.
okay.
I even had a premises where I saw
Oh, I
people.
see.
So
Okay.
I've never stopped when I was lecturing.
Mm,
I never stopped doing clinical work because I
mm.
felt that I cannot speak to students about techniques and things, and I'm not practicing it myself.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
Well, well
yeah,
done that you managed to marry those two and could still
yeah,
serve people practically and lecturing. And I know that you're the founder of a foundation. How did that start?
trying to figure out. So you're going to have a PhD. There's a book with your name on it. It's going to say Dr. Hamilton Pharoah.
Mm,
But what does that mean? So I wanted something tangible.
I love that.
So while completing my PhD, this idea started okay, I need to get a foundation or something going
Mm.
that would become the vehicle for whatever research I do to
Okay.
be implemented practically into the community, because I've always been involved in the community. It's never
Mm.
been something that I chose. It was a natural thing.
Mm.
So I wanted this vehicle. So the foundation became that vehicle. So the first thing was to take the youth development program that I wrote in the PhD and
Mm.
designed in the PhD.
Mm.
I started with something small by adapting that to a matric program
Okay.
in in 2016. So
Right.
from 2016 onwards, we've run a matric program in our community for, let's say, schools at risk,
Okay.
to say how do we support kids
Mm.
that has this fire inside of them but
Mm.
need the skills to be
Mm.
successful. Yeah, next year is 10 years.
Oh,
Um,
well
More
done.
than 30 learners have now graduated from
Wow.
getting into a
What an
degree. So they've got
achievement.
a, yeah, an
How
account. We've got an accountant. We've got a nurse. We've got a pharmacist. We've got
really?
teachers. Yeah, and some
Oh,
of them
wow.
are actually one of the teachers that I'm very proud of, simply
Uh-huh.
because she's from a near Nieuwedorp primary school where she went to school.
Mm.
She's a teacher there now.
Oh, full circle
So
moments.
so other kids that she interacts with from the
Yeah.
farm area, they see her and they see what's
Oh,
possible.
what's possible?
Yeah,
Living example. How
absolutely.
beautiful is that? I love that. I want you to now shift the attention to your personal life, and
Hmm.
we want to put a focus on where your mental health was very triggered over your career and your personal life, and you being in this field or closely linked to this field, it affected you. And so I think this is an important conversation for people to really listen to that.
It's one of those strange things because um, no one is reared to look after their mental health and to understand it.
Mm.
That you can say, but I need to go through certain processes to continually look after myself.
Yes.
And then also, despite the fact that you are in a medical profession, that didn't mean that you were checking yourself
Mm.
and saying, "Where am I? What am I doing?"
Yeah.
And you are seen as supposedly strong,
Mm.
you're intelligent, so you are supposed to cope with whatever comes your way.
Yeah. But nobody
So
tells you
I think
how. Nobody tells you how.
no, no, and you didn't realize that as your career progressed, there were times that you were bullied in your profession,
Mm.
and that you were taking that abuse because this is supposedly the norm of how you need to fight through everything.
Mm.
I've always found that I'm a pioneer, so I've never not have to fight to
Really?
get somewhere
Sure.
because I've always been the first. I've gone to
I see
medical
what you mean.
conferences,
Mm.
yeah, for cricket, and I'm the only non-white person there.
Mm. Mm.
No one speaks to you.
Mm. Yeah.
People, the way they act towards you, all of that, and you have
Mm.
to take it.
It's like an
Um,
undercurrent. It's like an undercurrent. It's not
yes,
in your face,
yes,
but it's there. And you, as
yeah,
the person
yeah,
experiencing it, will know. I know exactly what you mean when you
yes,
say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's almost like when you want to address certain things, people are saying, "No, man, no, it's not happening." I remember that when working for a province in cricket, this is my fourth year working for them. I walked into the new season, and they had a white physio for the white players, and
Mm.
and me coming there, and I'm asking what's going on here. So that year working with a team was basically a fight of staying and not resigning and fighting this,
Mm.
but being alone, because everyone else in the system is so used to not having a voice that
Mm.
you are actually seen as the troublemaker.
Mm. Mm.
And I
Mm.
find it quite interesting because that year we actually won. We became the first side that's ever won a national tournament, a one-day
Mm.
tournament. So when I walk into the offices of that province now, there's a big photo of the team in
Mm.
the foyer, and I'm with the team on that
Mm.
photo.
I hear what you're saying. There's these challenges along the way, along your journey, and you don't know much better 20, 30 years ago of how to handle it.
If you take this, for instance, so cricket a few years back had this big indaba exactly around these things, but nothing's happened because it's just a conversation. There's no
Oh,
one really taking
you know,
responsibility
I
and
yeah,
accountability. Let's do something
thank you for
about it.
saying that. I am so tired of conversations. Conversations must be followed
Yeah.
up with embodiment. That means you got to
Yes.
feel what the person is talking about. You got to make it
Yeah.
cellular for the person. The minute you make it
Yes.
cellular, that's when you can talk about change.
Absolutely. So now you go on. I work in various settings with national teams, and the situation is similar, where you always have these battles going on.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's subtle the way you are treated differently.
Mm.
You know that even when it comes to contracts and all of those things, it's just different. And you go through and you handle it
Yeah.
because I'm a breadwinner.
Correct.
So I'm
Yeah.
working and I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep my practice going. I'm trying to lecture. I'm
Mm.
trying to work with national teams, and you just carry those things with you.
Yeah. And you forget
And
about looking after yourself.
absolutely, and I remember looking back. I now look at my say 28 to 40 years, right?
Mm.
That stage, that 12-year stage. I now look at it as a very volatile stage
Yes.
where you couldn't just say anything to me because I was ready to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
On the
understand
defense,
now,
constantly on the
yes,
defense. Yeah.
yes, you're protecting yourself all the time and you're fighting to
And that
survive.
is tiring.
Um,
That is so tiring.
ab- Absolutely. And you're always thinking, does this person have a true agenda? Kind of
Trust
thing.
in people, your trust in people fade.
Absolutely. So
Mm.
you go through that, and then in 2017, my grandson gets injured at the festival and
Yeah.
dies 2 days later, 9 years old.
Mm. The
And
Grahamstown
sure,
Festival.
what the KNK in Oudtshoorn.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this big trauma comes
Oh,
in, right? You have all of the things happening around you. You have
in addition to that.
newspapers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's newspapers phoning, wanting a story, trying to protect your family, being strong,
Mhm.
all of those things. So now, and in 2017, so he got injured on the 14th of April, 2017, and I started a new job at UKZN in Durban on the 1st of April
Sure.
in a new place alone. My family was in Paul.
Oh.
So for the 2 years, 2017 to 2019, I
Mm.
basically traveled up and down on a Monday to Durban,
Mm.
flew on a Thursday evening back to Cape Town.
Mm.
Then looked after my family, worked in my foundation, all of those things.
Sure.
2020, COVID came.
Yeah.
20, 18th of December 2020, my mother-in-law became ill. She passed away. She was buried on the 23rd. My wife became ill, was
Oh,
taken to hospital on Christmas Day.
sure.
I became so ill that I was taken by ambulance on the 31st of December to hospital.
That same year.
Uh, those 2 weeks. So you
Whoa.
must remember I'm ill, but I also organized, sorted out the funeral, all of those things, then went to hospital, blah blah blah,
Oh
all of
my
that.
word.
So
So
now,
can I ask you, in that time,
yeah,
Hamilton, have you
yeah.
seen anyone to professionally to assist you on that journey?
Comes to Josh, we did.
Mm.
So obviously with the trauma, I was seeing someone.
Okay.
But you were dealing with that specific thing. And it's almost like you're dealing it in a way of surviving
Mm. Yeah.
because you don't know how to survive it. because
You're kind of
number
learning on the
one,
job here. You're learning on the job.
yes, and it's not something that you wanted to learn in any case.
Yeah.
We always say um, you don't want to be part of that club,
Mm.
the
Mm.
club where a child has died
Yeah,
and you
no.
have to deal with it. You don't want to be a part of that club.
It's
So
the
so
hardest thing.
yeah, and the long COVID was really bad. So
Mm.
memory loss, fatigue, all of those things.
Okay.
Um,
Were you lecturing at the
so
time still?
I had to continue. I had to work.
Wow.
Without thinking about it, you find a way to survive. And my
Mm.
survival was I'm working.
Mm.
Despite where I am, how I feel, I'm working. Yeah.
Hamilton, that is very
If I
true for
could
a lot of
work,
people.
yeah. If I
They
could
try
work
to
20,
numb out the
yeah.
situation.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. And if I could work for 24 hours, it
you would
would be
have.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I would wake up 4 o'clock in the morning because I
Mm.
can't sleep.
Mm.
And then I would take out a proposal and I would be reading it and giving feedback. I would be
Yeah.
seeing students from 7 o'clock in the morning in a workshop and then 6 o'clock finish,
Mm.
7 o'clock the evening, 3 or 4 students would be waiting to Zoom with me
Oh
because
my
they're sitting
word.
somewhere in the world. Um, yeah,
I'm exhausted
and
just
just,
listening to that. Um,
yeah,
because the thing is, the body catches up with you.
absolutely. And the thing about this is that when you are in that situation,
Mm. You don't
you
see
don't
it.
see this
Yeah.
as normal.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What's everyone going on about? I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to make it,
Mm. Mm.
all of those things.
But what we don't realize in
Um,
the moment is that making it is actually taking the time for yourself. That is the secret.
yes,
And you learned that the
yeah,
hard way. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And then it just plummeted
Yeah.
where I physically stopped and could not do anything.
Mm.
So how do you explain to someone that you are alive, but your brain is not working?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't actually speak.
Mm. It's like when
That,
it's when your computer freezes, and
yes,
there's a short circuit
yeah,
and something
yeah,
happened, and unless you fix the short circuit and reset, your computer's not going to
yeah,
go. It's the same
yeah.
concept.
Absolutely the same concept because that's what happened. You had to,
Mm.
I, I was
Reset.
physically sitting and not being able to talk, not even wanting to lift my arms, not wanting to do anything.
Mm.
It took me a year of
Okay.
not doing anything.
Anything. Okay. So you were off work then?
I was off work.
Okay, that's good.
I,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
it wasn't even a choice, if I can say it that
no,
way.
at
So
that
taking
point,
off was not a choice.
it's so late in your
Yeah,
journey of mental recovery that it's no longer a
yeah,
choice. And so the body
yeah,
sends you signals, sends you signals, sends you signals. Now you're at the point where there's zero response from your brain.
yeah.
You don't have a choice.
I
It's tough.
walked into the doctor's office
Mm.
and my blood pressure was something like 240 over something.
Yes.
And he was saying, well, I don't know why you're alive, but you, yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
You're alive to tell your story, Hamilton. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happened after that year?
I think the nice thing about the year was that I'm a person that need to understand
Mm.
what's going on. So
Yeah.
that year was actually to understand the process, to go through being helped, because I think that's
Mm.
important,
Mm.
that you accept that you need help
Correct.
because you need to see it.
Yes.
Because if you don't see that you need help, it won't help at all. And then the second thing is to say, okay, so I need help. And then to decide, so what do I want to do with that help?
That's it.
You can take the help and basically just go through the motion,
Mm.
or you can say, no, I need to take it and to make adaptations to
Mm.
look after myself better.
Mm. Mm. Just want
That
to pause there, Hamilton,
mm,
because a lot of
yeah,
people either don't get help, but a lot of people get help and they get to a point where then they have to make that choice. Like you say, either I integrate this into my life or I pull the plug. And you
yeah.
made the choice to then work further on this. Yeah.
The first thing was I needed to understand.
Mm.
And as soon as I understood, I knew that there were a part that I need to take accountability for.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you can go through this whole situation and say that everyone's always done something to me
Yeah.
and all of that.
Blame
And
others.
then, yes, and then it gets to, okay, so I don't need to work on anything because it's other people's
Yeah,
problems.
exactly.
Or it can be that I need to understand what is my part. So my part
Mm,
is I need to learn how
mm,
to say no
mm,
better.
absolutely. That
Um,
that boundaries.
yes. So all of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah. And that is where
And
the
then,
mental
and yeah,
journey starts because now
yes,
you're putting the puzzle together and it gets very condensed and it gets very basic. There's only five
yeah,
things you're going to do today. And if the five things is going to
yeah.
be, how am I going to get through the day with what's going on in my head?
Absolutely. And then because I needed to understand, I then went through this journey by, as a lecturer does, by breaking it down and
Mm,
and and getting to a point where I can say, okay, so where am I?
that makes
And
sense
that's
to me.
part
Okay.
of the reason why we started our conversation, because I then developed
Mm,
this sort of model that
mm,
I would go and have a talk to people
mm.
about,
Where
because
you
I
bring
could take
logic, you
my,
bring logic to it.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes, yes.
Mm,
So that's where it started. So understanding, where am I? What am I? I talk to young people a lot about I am enough. But I had to go and really work on
figure
my
it
I am
out.
enough.
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
that's beautiful.
because
And that's
because
beautiful, Hamilton. And
yeah,
I want to pause there again. The
yeah,
reason why you went through that, or why God has given you that breakdown, was for you to embody what does it really mean to say I am enough? And now when you teach people I am enough, it's a whole new meaning, right?
yes, absolutely. There's a different
Different vibration to it. Yeah,
yeah, feeling to it,
absolutely.
understanding to it.
Yeah.
So by talking to young people about a family of
Mhm.
hope, children with dreams, women of the future
Mm.
men of courage, and to foster with love.
Yeah,
And I went through that
it's
and I said,
beautiful.
but if those are my pillars that I build on, why did I still collapse?
Mm.
And then I realized that part of the reason is that's not enough. Those
Mm.
are not enough skills.
Okay.
There's a further interrogation that you need to go through
Yes.
to say, but what are the things that's added to it? So,
Yeah.
added to that, the conversation started with understanding your relationships.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
going through trauma, going through everything with Josh,
Mm.
ignoring everything, it means that your relationship with God, your spiritual
Oh,
relationship,
yeah.
right?
So
So,
now,
so for
now you're
me,
getting into
yeah,
the holistic
yes,
thing of
yes.
it. It's not just mental, it's mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it became something like understanding that my view,
Mm.
where relationships were concerned,
Mm.
was on the outside, because I thought by supporting other people, that could be a way of living out my honoring of Josh,
Yeah.
instead
But
of
you
saying
were
that.
not honoring yourself in the process. That's the
Exactly,
realization.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the start is to that deeper relationship with God.
Mm.
That is the
The spiritual.
viewpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first thing, and then the other thing was understanding what is self-care and what is self-harm.
Mm. Mm.
Because working could be self-care because you're earning money, but if you're working 24 hours, then it becomes self-harm.
Yeah. The work-life balance is a big topic.
Absolutely. And then the other thing, what resources do I have
Mm.
versus the challenges or crisis that I go through?
Yeah.
And one of the things was the deep conversation about, we basically want to build resources when we have the challenge. So
Mm.
why not build resources
Before.
when you don't have the
Yeah.
challenge? I found that I could get help immediately. because one of the
You're in the
resources was
field.
I'm in the
Yeah.
medical
Yeah.
profession. I don't phone my doctor. I phone my colleague, my friend, that's available to me immediately.
But
So it's so much
it took
different.
you a long time to get to that realization, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the other realization, that at that breaking point where you now know, look, I am in trouble.
Mm,
I I was still blessed
mm.
by having the resources
Yes, available.
to get contact immediately. Now understanding what is the kind of resources that I need,
Yeah.
making sure that I look at what I need to build, the skills, the better communication.
Yeah.
Ended up with my wife and daughter looking after my diary.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
they want to fight with me now
Yeah.
again because they feel I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
But I mean it's a lot better
I
than
mean, they're
it's ever
so
been.
fantastic to hear, and there's so many lessons packed there. I mean, for you, it's boundaries. It's the realization that self-care is important. It's the support network you have to build around you. You had to practically implement all of these things. It's great to see you sitting here talking about
Mm.
it. Mm,
As a man and a father, society sort of creates this impression
mm.
of the strong
Yeah.
person. One of the things that me and my wife spoke about was understanding why someone would get to that point, because she explained it as
Yes.
someone with a lot of strings,
Mm,
and so me, I filter everything.
mm.
And whoever attaches to me that I need to look after, they pull on my strings,
Ah,
they
okay.
keep it there,
Mm,
but they don't get what I get when I'm filtering. So
mm,
by the time they get the information, it's
mm,
already filtered, it's softened, it's all of those things. But you've taken all that harder trauma, whatever
mm.
you've taken. Then you realize why the person that's seen as the strongest person, in inverted commas,
Yeah.
in the family breaks
It's
down,
down. Yeah.
because you can only filter so
So
much and
much.
take so much.
That's it. But now you're touching on something else, which is
Yeah,
self-awareness. Self-care needs to kick in now. My self-awareness
yeah,
is telling me self-care needs to kick
yeah,
in, and I need to
yeah,
cut the strings now. And then I
yeah.
put Hamilton first. And
Yes.
that is what then became your journey
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
And the thing that made me say I'm in trouble
Mm.
was that I'm a analytical logical
Yeah, yeah.
person.
You're a type 5
So
personality.
yeah, I got to the point where I found that I have none of those things working.
Mm,
And it's just the emotional, all of those things happening.
mm, mm.
That's when I realized, whoa, 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 this is not gonna work. There's a problem here.
Yes.
Because everything that I'm taking, I'm not analyzing it in the way that I used to.
The learning here is
Yeah,
also you
yeah.
have to park sometimes the logic.
So with me, I take in stuff
Mm.
and I don't respond. I don't do anything because I need to sit down and
First
think, okay,
digest it. Yeah,
what's
yeah, yeah.
going?
In your
Yeah,
head.
yeah. Digestion didn't take place. It went to the emotional part of my
Okay,
brain
okay. I hear what you're
without
saying.
any boundaries, any blockages.
And that was foreign
So
to
if
you. Yeah,
anything even small would feel as if the world is collapsing.
I understand. Yeah, because your brain
Yeah,
was heavy and always has been logically, analytically. Now your
yeah,
brain
yeah,
shifted to heavy emotional, and you had to build new
yeah.
neural pathways to connect the two. This is such a good
Yes.
point.
And that's why it's so difficult to explain to people. And now you realize, okay, I need to look at that and I need to use it differently. I need to say, okay, how does self-care take place?
Yeah.
And now it also gets to a point where you can now say, but without me first taking this thing and going through it, I would say, okay, these are the one person that I would say, let's just quickly talk about this,
Mm.
because now I'm not doing it alone.
Yeah. Very good point. Rather address it up front. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, Hamilton, we can talk about this a long time, but I just want to thank you. I think there was a lot of valuable insights and valuable because you've
yeah,
learned the hard way. And it's a very important conversation. I'm very excited to share this. And thank you for your
Yeah.
vulnerability, though.